What's up, everyone, and welcome to this first episode of the Mayrand podcast. If you're wondering who I am and what is this podcast, well, I invite you to check out the episode 0, where I tell you a bit about myself and what I intend to do with the podcast. For this first episode, I got to chat with Phil Casabon. Phil is a legend of the sport who won 2 X Games gold medal and put out numerous movie projects. He's also a really down-to-earth, chill dude who has a lot of interesting things to say. I hadn't talked to Phil in a couple of years, and it was great to catch up with him. We talked about his 2020 season, how it was cut short by a knee injury. We talked about his 2 main projects for the year. One is a short movie called Ensemble, which is available now on YouTube, and an animated short called The Lost Crystals, which he has been working on for the past year. We also discussed his back-to-back gold medals in the X Games real ski competitions, amongst many other things. So here we go, first episode of the Mayrand podcast. Hope you enjoy it. Phil, what's up?
Yeah, man. Bienvenue à Vallée du Parc, Xavier.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So, what have you been up to lately? What's been the schedule this summer?
Schedule is pretty routine. Wake up, I write down my dreams. I meditate and pray for about 20 minutes. Then I go to the gym, do my rehab, workout. Then I have a bit of time, free time, whatever. Like I either read, write, mainly those two. Sometimes I just go in the woods and start picking mushrooms. But reading and writing before 1. At 1, I eat my breakfast because I do intermittent fasting for a year now or so. And then I just do whatever feels like the best thing to do at that moment, which is normally work on the cartoon, which I'm working on, or go out in the woods, pick mushroom, or go in the garden, or do some work around the yard.
Nice. And when you talk about meditating, praying, have you always been a spiritual person, or is that something that came along at some point?
Yeah, I've always been drawn to meditation and spirituality, but I definitely have been more so into it lately, just as far as healing purposes and feeling good with myself, and also calming down the darker thoughts, which are always around, but it's not necessarily useful to cling on to them. So I think meditation is a great tool in the toolbox to ease the mind and just let that thought be and just not grasp to it and move on to more positive thinking. And I know that we're creatures of habit, and so repeating quotes that are positive with intent daily and making it a discipline goes far to create new habits and also become reality.
Is there a similarity between what you feel when you meditate and kind of what happens when you're like filming urban, of drowning like negative thoughts, or just because there's a lot of people that find relief when they do sports, like say when they run. Is there something like that when you're actually skiing?
Yeah, well said. You definitely drawn demons, if I could put it that way, while especially doing like a very demanding skiing task like skiing urban, where you repeatedly do something constantly and not get it, and you get in your mind like, fuck, I'm so bad, like I suck. You can go many routes in your mind, or like, and even like just drawn in demons like, why is that person there looking at me, like what the fuck does he want, like things that are like, you got to get it off your chest. It's in yourself, but you don't necessarily know it unless you get into these meditation. I don't get into that state of mind as much. I'm just not as good of a meditator to draw on demons. I'm barely starting to do it, but skiing is definitely a type of meditation and some release.
What's your reaction, let's say, when That's something I had when I was filming Urban, was always, if someone approaches you, you don't know if they're gonna insult you and say that you should get out, or they might be friendly. And I was always kind of in an awkward place of just saying, okay, guys, go talk to them. I don't want to deal with those kind of stuff. How do you approach those things when it happens?
With love as much as possible, because I know that otherwise I'm definitely not going to have the best of them if I am not friendly. And luckily, these past years I've been hanging out with genuine people like Brady and B-Mail in the streets. So very kind people. So it's easy when someone approaches us, like either one of us has a very friendly approach. So we rarely, I'd say rarely, I even choose spots though that are outside of the crowds for this purpose to not have to deal with it. But so when we do meet people, these people are out there because they want to be. They're like, I'm out in the woods walking right now with my dog and I'm loving life. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. So we meet people that are genuine, and that's the people that the characters that you see in En Particulier, let's say, like some of these people are really just happy people to be out there.
That's one of my favorite shots on your opener in your first real ski, where you're in a residential neighborhood, you're in the middle of the streets. There could be reason for an old person to bitch, but then this old lady just says, "Oh, I love what you're doing," and it's so nice because it's a rare thing that people document in ski edits, where a lot of times you see like people almost fighting or kicking you out, and then it's just like, "Oh, I love what you're doing," and you're just like, "Oh, thank you."
Right. Yeah, it all depends on your approach, like you were saying, how you approach it. Also, the environment. Like in that case, it's next to a park, and it's not like deep in the city. But deep in the city, people tend to get more tense because of the noise. Even myself, when I go in the city, things move quicker, and I'm more on the move, and I might react quicker. But when you're out in a like place where there's a lot of trees, birds singing, then you might get some more natural reactions. And that place, I go there. I went there like 5-6 times before I did that trick, just like visualizing everything, setting shop. Knocked on that lady's door, and she was like, "Oh, cool, you're gonna come, and yeah, I'm gonna put the starting ramp right in your driveway. Is that cool?" Sure. And then her son comes by, and he's helping her out, and he's like, "Oh, nice, you're gonna put it there. All right, sounds good." And
That's a
super
great
friendly
strategy of like making friends with them, or like if you come knock on their door and have a big smile, it helps a lot. Just when they see you the next time, they're not scared or they're not thinking anything.
Right. Yeah, like what is he doing on my lawn? Like with that big descent. Yeah, I mean it comes as a surprise for a lot of these people, but they're familiar. That rail's been hit before, and like it's a popular spot, so some people are like, "Oh, these crazy guys are back at it again." Like
It's interesting what you said about choosing your spots. Is it something like a priority for you of going to session a spot where it's peaceful, kind of like, let's say you have two similar rails, you're definitely going to consider going into the most peaceful one?
for sure. Yeah, first things first, especially for the case where in that case it was for real ski, so we had no room for getting kicked out, really. Like it was like days were counted, so I chose places that I was sure we weren't gonna get bothered. And plus it's like I'm a perfectionist and I repeat shit constantly. And even when I'm like, was that it? That's not it. Like I'm gonna get it. And especially that first year of real ski, I was like, I'm not giving them a choice that like this video is gonna be one of the tops. Like there's no chance that they're gonna say, well, here he came off short. Nah, there wasn't gonna be any of that. So I wanted to make sure that I had time to do these tricks.
And when you're saying that they wouldn't have any choice, what was your mindset of going into it? Were you thinking about going for gold per se, of like thinking about the other athletes going in? Did you know who else was going to compete, or? It was
Yeah.
okay. So were you thinking about the other guys, what they can do, or just what yourself can? What's your own limits?
Right. Yeah. The other guys are definitely on my mind, thinking about them here and there. But really, yeah, I came in with the idea that I was going to win. Nothing else. Like, I even wrote it, like, because I was invited from the first year on of the real ski. First year, I was filming for Be Inspired. I said, nah, I'm already tied into a project. Second year, I had a blown knee. And third year, and second year, he invited me again. I was like, I just want to be full all in if I'm doing this because I want to win, and that set the motion. Like, I said it, I wrote it in an email to Chris Schuster. Like, I'm planning on coming in and winning. Like, I wrote it. So that's a way to make sure that you do things. It's like, write it to somebody. Tell your best friend, like, I'm good. It's like we show up at this spot. I'm gonna do 180 onto that skinny ass rail, and then like, oh, you just tied yourself in. You said it.
So what has been up with you in the past year? What was your season like going like a year ago into the fall?
So I was planning on going in and doing the rail ski again because I was invited from the previous gold medal, and it felt really. I was anxious and uncomfortable to approach X Games again because I felt like I had to go further looking for spots, and I didn't have spot idea mapped out so well, and I didn't feel like putting that much effort into like having to drive all these places because I had done it for 2 years previous, and I was wondering why I was still in it, and I was like, oh, three-peat, that's why you're in it. And then that's like ego speech, like three-peat, like I gotta make myself notorious and make that shit historical. But really, in the end, it's about joy. It's about being happy, and that shit didn't make me happy. It made me anxious of like performing. The previous year I won, and the backlash on like winning was not even fun. Like, people, and I read comments and I saw like the reactions and how it didn't slide by a lot of people, and I was like, like, people ain't even enjoying that video for what it is. Their comparison. What is the motive to this competition? And joy, the thief of joy is comparison. Like, that's what it is. So that's where you put yourself when you're in that kind of environment. You're being judged, you're being compared, and that shit is really uncomparable. And I knew it from the start. That's why I quit contests a while ago. But I felt like I didn't have the shine I deserved, and I had to like get a stamp. Like, I'm gonna get a gold so people can know that what I did is notorious somewhat, and that was fueled ego. Like, I wanted my share of the pie. Like, yeah, give me my props. And that's, I went in, won these 2 years, and then the third year I was going in and I was like really confused on what was my motive behind it. And I just said cancel. The day that we were supposed to start filming, Brady got here. We're not doing it. I don't feel comfortable. I asked Chris Schuster, the dude from X Games. He was like, so why are you not doing it? And I was like, I'm just uncomfortable. I hit my head, realized this ain't for me, like, right now. Got off of the real ski thing, felt really good doing that, and started to film for a project with Brady called Ensemble. Very quickly, within like 5 spots, I blew my knee on a simple down rail, just back 270 out, and my knee went, and that was the end. Like, dream's over for a minute.
Before that, you said something I'm curious. You said you were feeling anxious about the third rail ski and the three-peat and everything. Was there some kind of feeling similar to that for your second year, going into repeat and having the pressure of the first gold?
Yeah, absolutely. Same thing, but on a lower scale level. So I was like, I kind of like did all, I kind of like gave it all I had for this first year, and like really like it was fueled from years past. Like, I was invited 2 years before, and I was like, when I come out, I'm gonna do it great. And I'm really happy about how this first segment came out. It was like exactly what I was looking for, especially like given the time period we had, which was really short. They opened up the window as the years went on. We had more time, but the second year was tough to jump in. I was like, am I doing this? Am I not doing this? I did it just for the hell of it. And also I was like, it's time to capitalize on the money. Like, I was like, I'm going to get my share. Like, I'm going to get my money. Like,
because there was a while before real ski happened where, I don't know, I felt like skiing was late to the party.
right.
Like real snow happened like in the early 2010s maybe. And skiing was kind of still left out. So.
Right. And we always were like, damn, I can't wait till they do it with skiing.
But yeah, when you say that you wanted to bring it your all in the first year, one of the shots that, looking back, that really showcases that is your first shot where you get the massive six kink and you land it perfectly with like kind of a press because you were going so fast at the end, and you just pick up your rat and throw it away, and we see like the joy. You could really see it in that shot that like you weren't half-assing it. It was like you probably, that little bit at the end showed that there was a fight with that rail and you were stoked on getting it.
Absolutely. That's one of the greatest feelings I've ever had. And it was premeditated, kind of, although that might seem special. But like, I was like, I'm going to get this rail, because it was like 6 hours in, and I was thinking like all the demons coming out. And I'm like, I'm getting this rail, and I'm fucking slinging my hat up to the sky. And it came really naturally. I didn't have to think. Once I got it, it was like, and I got it so nicely. I capped the end of the rail, and I was like, yes, this is it. And I was happy there for 2 days until I started questioning my other shots for the real ski. So I was so anxious all through the process. It was like you could find me barely sleeping, watching clips through the night. Like, did I come off like a little early on this clip? Did I not pop? I see everything I do wrong, obviously. So I was meticulous with my shit, and I couldn't get rest. I wasn't resting, and it sucked really, like, but it was enjoyable to be like, because it's a big contrast of emotions going on, like, but, and looking back, I'm so happy on the content we produce and on the moments I had shared with my friends, because they were deep and high. But a lot of times it was restlessness, and that sucked.
Yeah, I feel you. Definitely that segment wasn't the first one, at least. We'll talk about the second one, but the first one for me was like, as soon as I saw it, yeah, it's gold. And yeah, again, there's the whole comparison thing, and let's put that aside. The video was insane. I feel you that sometimes when you're working on something, you have all the context of what happened. So maybe, I would have liked to pop a bit more, or I would have liked to land a bit better. But for someone on the outside, that video is amazing. The variety, that's like you at your best.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of premeditated tricks and ideas that were put into it, and definitely came a long way to produce that segment.
And then for the second one, that's again on my side as someone who's a fan of your skiing, but that was also something of the comparison, not even of your competitors, but of the previous one, which was so good. But then, in my opinion, you most certainly did something on par with that, if not better. Then again, it's a matter of taste, because urban is so different, and then every part is different. But I think you managed with those two to put something that will stand the test of time. Definitely. Like, I have no doubt that we'll be watching it in 10 years and it'll still be as good.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely put my all in both of these years. And also, like, the second year was like, I had to choose tricks that weren't too similar to the first year, because I didn't want to repeat myself too much. So made me jump out my comfort zone a little bit. And I'm really happy on the result as well. And I think it's definitely a heartfelt little segment.
And plus, there's something that I find really cool about what you do, is that you manage to find cool spots and do sick tricks, but you're always like, well, for most of your shots, it seems like you stay in your hometown. You manage to, and you've done that for all your career almost, but you manage to always like reinvent Shawinigan and that region of finding a new way to hit. Like that park where there's the six kink. I don't know how many spots you've done there, but you always kind of reinvent that park, and you could probably do a whole segment of what you've done in that park.
I appreciate it. Yeah, and that's in the idea. I wanted to make a mini movie, but not only of myself, but everybody that's been there, because that park has history. And I also wanted to, which is in the making right now, but make a monument over there that is meant to be skied and snowboard, but it's an artistic piece, like the Red Ledge, for instance. That's like the Red Ledge is all right. A red ledge you hike up and it's stairs and stuff, but really it became notorious in the skiing and snowboarding world. And I think
It's iconic.
yeah, and that park right there in Shawi deserves a monument to be skied and snowboard on.
Yeah. Do you think people of like the city of Quebec are aware of like that monument out of nowhere is like has been seen all over the world?
I'm sure, like through like the son of a mayor, or the son's friend of a mayor or something. I don't know, like, but the word spreads out, and I think maybe probably.
I'd be curious of like them seeing because they've painted it, right?
Yeah,
So it's not the red ledge anymore. It's like the gray ledge.
yeah,
But seeing, oh yeah, we've spent I don't know how many $100 on painting it, and then oh, there's these kids again.
yeah. They're not stopping.
Yeah. And now it's time for a first sponsor break. Treefort Lifestyles is a company based out of Oregon. They've been involved in the ski industry since their inception in 2011 when they made their first pair of suspenders for skiing. They produce some of the nicest accessories you can find out there for your adventure activities, whether you're going skiing, hiking, or traveling. Plus, I've heard their famous suspenders are making a comeback this winter. Go check them out at treefortlifestyles.com and use code Mayrand at checkout to get 15% off your order. Support companies that support skiing. Support Treefort Lifestyles. So you blew your knee in, when was it? In November, December?
December 13th. Yep. Just caught me off guard, really. Was riding this rail with Frank Bourgeois, and what we were going to have, like, Frank has a shot in the upcoming movie, and we were going to film more with Frank. Really excited about that fact. And Alki also, Bellemare, was going to be more involved, and I was going to do more trips with Bellemare because he was starting to get back in the groove of skiing urban since he left out the Canadian Skiing Association. So really excited to get these people together, but got caught off guard and had to end it a bit early.
How did that affect you?
It affected me very much. I was really shocked and definitely like put me on the ground for a few days, but really like these days I try to live in the present as much as possible. So that happened. This is where I am. This is what I got to do. This is what I'm doing. This is what I do to get better. Like, and I just do these little daily things like the meditation, the prayer, the writing down the dreams, the intermittent fasting to build up something that's going to be long lasting. And
All the micro routines, kind of.
yep, exactly.
But does that affect you? Because how many blown knees have you had?
Just both 2 knees.
2. I had a knee injury around January a couple of years ago, and what I found was just the fact of not being able to move. Because a lot of time, the fun thing for me as a guy who likes sports is going out and skating or skiing or anything, but there was the fact of not being able to do anything. Well, and plus I was working at 9 to 5, so you come home, you've sat all day, and then you're just stuck sitting down. Is that something for you that affects you of like not being able to move around for 6 months?
So much. Yeah, it affects me, and for instance, it also affects the people around me, obviously, because that's how it is. And but I try to absorb it and integrate it in the best way because I know it's recurrent, especially doing the dumb stuff that I do. Like, it's gonna happen. So now it's not gonna happen anymore. I'm like gonna try to approach it as smart as possible, but I always do. So we'll see what happens. But let's say I put my word that it's not gonna happen. um, I had to put my mind elsewhere, like, and channel uh, my artistic and creative side that I don't necessarily can express with my skis or my snow skate or all these activities that we like. So I went and started to study more, read more, write more, all things that I love doing, but I set aside for skiing. And eventually watching a video clip with Brady, a few videos, we started to get into the YouTube hole, and there was a bunch of cartoon hip hop videos that I was really getting into, and that set my mind to say, like, all right, I'm gonna use this money from my sponsors and I'm gonna make a cartoon anime of skiing. First it started like, I'm gonna just use my best shots, I'm gonna put together an edit, and I'm gonna make sure my sponsors are seen, and that's gonna be it. Boom, package. And then that was too simple. I was like, nah. 2 months prior, I had bought a book to start writing stories because I really wanted to write a story. And I was like, all right, so this is the time. So all these times spent sitting down, I just forced myself to write down a story that would be cool and that would involve skiing and snow and something that would be interesting to me and the public. And I just moved forward with it and just went all into it and just like wrote the story. Story sucked. I hired a screenplay professional from Hollywood to check my story. He was like, listen, check out the movie Seven Samurai. Check out the movie, Seven Samurai especially, which
That's
is
like a Japanese classic, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
like 50s epic samurai movie, just like the illest flick. He was like, try to inspire yourself from this story, but your story sucks. There's nothing there. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah. Like, that's how it goes. Like, I never wrote a story
Like
before.
in terms of structure, maybe?
Yeah, in terms of like, where, how is your hero, how are people going to love your hero? He's so random in terms of like making the right components be have strength and make people understand like, oh, this is why they need that guy and this is the bad guy. Just simple things that are like, oh, I'm not seeing that in your story right now. So I had to rewrote it, send him again. He's like, this is much better. Keep working. Kept working. Hit up an animator, which is from Saint-Sauveur, Genado. And he read through my first story, which was like, I wrote it down like super poetic because that was the only way to get through for me. A story was like explain it visually and as vividly as I saw it. And I love the use of words, so I try to make it as poetic as possible. And he read down like, it's probably a 50 minute read. He read all that stuff. Thanks to him. He was like, I feel like there's potential in there. Let's let me know when your script is final and we can start moving forward. And we went back and forth. He helped me a bunch, and now it's full on. Like, I have the characters, I have the landscapes, most of them, and animation is going to be coming soon. So by January 2021, December 2020, there's going to be the Lost Crystal cartoon coming out.
That's the official name?
Yep.
The Lost Crystals?
Yep.
Nice. Can't wait to see it. You've shown me a bit and it looks promising, definitely. Did you already have that idea kind of in your mind of doing cartoon? Because I think I might have heard you before talking about doing maybe a comic book. Is that possible?
Maybe I made mention of it because it's always something I've been drawn to, and like as a young child, like I had, let's say, I loved reading. I had all the Goosebumps. I had all the Dragon Ball Z's, the books, and I watched all the Dragon Ball Z episodes. Like, that was the shit to me.
Okay, what's your favorite part in Dragon Ball? We got to talk about Dragon Ball.
for sure, like when Goku discovers like the skill of Super Saiyan, when the Frieza whole saga of Frieza or Freezer, I don't remember now.
Yeah, Freezer in French. Frieza
Okay,
in English, I think.
okay, Frieza. Uh, I liked it a lot. Uh, Favorite part also is when San Gohan and the other homie, they make like a symbiosis and they get together and
Yeah,
do the trick and become one being as two beings. I think they're fighting Boo at that point. That shit is epic. I think like that shit really resonated with me.
when did you get into those? Was it like when? Because on my part, I had older brothers and cousins, so that was kind of my first book that I ever read. Like I didn't even know how to read, and I was just like, oh, what is that? And like looking through the images, and that was like my first comic books that I ever read, kind of. Did you get into those like in your teens or earlier?
Yeah, early stage. Like you, a similar scenario. My older brother like put me onto it, and it started actually like we had the cable, so I could watch them in English. So it started with the visuals, and then I bought the books. But yeah, early, I want to say like 10 years old, something 9. So it definitely made a lasting impact, and I don't know. It's such a great like mystical, spiritual like get the 7 Dragon Balls. The storyline is just monumental.
That's crazy. I'm still reading them from time to time of just going back into it. Well, I guess there's the whole nostalgia factor of your childhood and looking back at those memories. But yeah, Dragon Ball was the shit. Yeah, we branched off. You said you always wanted to get into comic books and stuff like that. So when you got hurt, was that kind of a flash of, oh, okay, that's what I'm gonna do, or was it something you already kind of like? How did that come to light in your mind of, okay, that's the plan, that's what I'm gonna do?
Right. It was really like epiphany. Like it came up like boom. It wasn't like, oh, if someday I get hurt, I'm gonna make a cartoon or something. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think I had that in the back of my mind ever. Although, like we spoke about, like I loved all these cartoons growing up, but this time it was really that particular moment watching video clips with Brady and just seeing like a simple beat into two samurai fighting, and it was really simple animation, and it made the beat so much heavier, and it was a simple storyline. It was like, and it was so simply understood. It's like this kid's father got murdered, and the kid is avenging his father years later, and that's like there's no dialogue, no narration. It's just a beat, like. So, and I was like, I'm gonna just make this cartoon with no narration, no dialogue, just banging beats, ill visuals. Then it grew. I was like, okay, I have a story. How it's hard to tell a story with no words. You got to be really skillful. I think maybe at some level I will be able, but now I added the words, so I started to make a narration, dialogues. I think it also adds to the characters to give him a bit more flavor.
Mm. Yeah, that's something they say a lot in cinema is show, don't tell. Like, don't tell me that Phil is a good skier, just show me that he is a good skier. But as you said, it's easier said than done.
So much.
Yeah.
Yeah, you learn through the process. It's like, shit, how, and it helps to associate with illustrators, artists who like within a drawing, he draws something and you're like, oh, yeah, I can like feel that dude's past, like how he's been. He's probably been like really turbulent, like he probably done some shit, and now he seems like he's got a grip on himself and he's really peaceful with his past self, and now he's really actualized. And really talented illustrators like my man Frank Booch, who I hired for this, really like put this into play. Like he draws characters and you're like, damn, this dude has a story.
Mm. Yeah, the visuals are incredible, and it feels like it's a natural progression for you because you've always been hands on. You've always had um, out of the box project, maybe like you stood out with your projects always. At a point where people were doing, I don't know, kind of web series that were really don't want to be harsh, but maybe a bit bland. You came out with the B&E and was like you always stood out. And then with your pro models, with your skis, like the visuals on your skis are always special. Like you could see that it fits with what you've always done.
Definitely, as you say, like I didn't see it coming, that natural progression leading me here, but I am definitely somewhere where I've always wanted to be, and I've always put a big accent into the artistic side and just details and just making sure that something comes out in some way that has rarely been seen before, because we're just remanipulating things that have been done, like things been done, like we're not the first people to walk on the earth, but I just try to see within this little niche what hasn't been done and inspire myself from outside as much as possible, and then like try to make something out of it that's a bit outsider, which came from like the B&E, for instance, was inspired by Method Man and Redman getting together, nothing else. So I took influence from hip hop. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna take that piece. Like Wu-Tang took the martial art, and we're like, that's us, Wu-Tang.
When you knew that you were getting into that this winter of writing your story and everything, did you go back to, as you said, with Seven Samurai and stuff like that? Did you go into specific cartoons or animated shorts or movies that you went to inspire you for that project?
So much, yeah. Since I couldn't move very much, I watched all my favorite movies, like Lord of the Rings, Alice in Wonderland, Shawshank Redemption, Kill Bill, The Godfather, Seven Samurai. All it goes on and on. And I also try to see what was going on in the animated world to realize that it's insane how much content in animation there is right now and how sharp things are. They tell stories vividly, no words. I'm crying by the end of the 6 minutes. Like, this dog just found the baby, and I'm just like in tears. Like, they got me. They do it. Like, there's serious people out there doing storytelling in a way that I had no idea was going on, and I was like, that kind of like brought me down a little. I was like, shit, I'm not ready to get on to that stage. And I was like, no, 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 fuck it. I'm going to just do it the way I'm going to accept that I'm an amateur. This piece is not going to be a story that you're like, the story was so special. Like Christopher Nolan style movie. It's not going to be that. It's just going to be, damn, like, that's some dope beats and some dope visuals.
Yeah, and you got to start somewhere.
Right? So I went on and watched all these stuff to get all these things to get inspired. Got brought down kind of by it because I realized how good people were and how shitty I was. And so I just wrote and tried to get a grip on like something I thought was solid enough to be presented, like something that like, how do you make a story about skiing and have a hero and whatnot, like, and I found something that made sense to me, and I think will make sense. And
From the few things you've told me about the story before the podcast, it really seemed like you put in the work to build a world that makes sense in the context of your characters.
Happy to hear.
Yeah, and I think it'll show because that's sometimes where some things fall apart in the story. It's where, as you said, Lord of the Rings, like when you watch the film or you read the books, there's a lot of things. Like, I'm not an expert on Tolkien, but I think that guy worked a lot on building the world beforehand, of having everything in place and making sense in the context of the story.
Unbelievable. Like Tolkien, just like with his maps, all the names, when you put everything in perspective, like, and then like once you write down a story and you see all the involvements and all it takes to create something, it's just like anything. You watch a skateboarder, if you don't skate and he's doing a kickflip backflip and he's really damn talented, and you're like, uh, I, I get it. It mustn't be too hard if you don't skate, you know? Like you watch a movie and it's like, that was a good movie, like, but then like you really get into the nitty gritty of it and like everything was thought of prior, and everything is every notable like piece of art just didn't come like this. Sometimes it comes like this when the person has years and years on their
Hmm.
belt, like experience. They can come up with something easily because they've been doing it.
Yeah, well, I feel there's a similarity with you in urban skiing. And from my experience doing a lot of urban myself, was you might have one spot out of, I don't know, 20, 30 that goes smoothly. It's sunny, it's warm, you get the trick in an hour and you go back and you eat. But most of the time, it's, as you said before, there's a lot of preparation going into it. And that's a thing you said you do. Like, you went to see the spot and visualize it. You went to talk to the old lady to make sure everything was good. Like, looking at each and every aspect to make sure that everything goes towards your vision.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's something that's easily overlooked when you're given clips of skiing, like just like here you go, here are these like 15 clips. What do you think? Yeah, that was good. But like really, if you were next to that person that put all the time in and saw the efforts, then you gain another respect for these clips. You're like, oh shit. And I think Brady showcased it really well with En Particulier. Like he really put it as best as possible, even though you can't put everything because at some point it might get boring to see us build the spots and wait out for the spots because there's 4 days of
Mm.
shitty storm and then rain and
Yeah,
then
it's a balance of
hmm
showcasing, but then staying. Because it's something that's also hard, because for hardcore skiers, let's say, a lot of people just want to see the bangers. But then for a lot of non-initiated people who are less aware of urban skiing, they love that kind of stuff because they have no clue that that's a thing. Like, they don't know the context. So when they see a shot, they only see the skier and nothing else. But when they see the shoveling and getting kicked out and all the struggle that comes into it, it's like a documentary for them. That's what, when I showed urban movie to people, that's what they like the most.
mm,
Like, almost like they liked better a crash segment than a real segment, because it opens their mind to, oh, okay, yeah, there's a risk of them getting hurt.
absolutely, you got to show that. But as you say, depending who you're trying to touch with that, because hardcore skiers will want, and that's cool. If all you're trying to get is your peers stoked on the flick, then just go for the banging soundtrack and the tricks that are next level.
Mm. And that's the challenge, to get both, kind of.
Right.
Like, that's one thing that JP managed to do with his street segment that he did with Sherpas,
Mm.
the one that went viral of him skiing in, where was it? Like in Alberta?
Yeah,
Or
maybe
maybe,
British Columbia
yeah,
or
yeah.
yep.
That's something that he did where it went viral, and everyone and their cousin and their mother seen it. Like, it had millions of views. But then the core skiers were also into it. Like, it gained respect from both sides.
Yeah. Shout out to JP, rest in peace. Like that segment is forever inside everybody in the ski community, and like you say, it even branched out to, and that was that's an example of an artist that has been doing it for so long, along with these cinematographers, the Sherpas, who are killers, and they get together and it comes fairly easily. Like I remember JP told me, yeah, they put in the work, but still like this segment came about like really naturally. It just happened, and it's a piece of art to be remembered forever. That's because they put in time, they put in the work before. It just doesn't sprout out of nowhere. You can't just be great.
Hmm. Maybe now's a good time to do that cartoon because you've done so many things that kind of could relate to it but are outside of it. Like you had an input on all your pro models for what, over 10 years now. You directed edits for over 10 years, 15 years. You've skied, you've done a lot of things that all can make that movie better and help you as a storyteller, help you as someone who knows how to get attention out of people. Because even though the B&Es and all your movies that you did might not be directly related, there's certainly something that will bring a unique flavor, you know? Like not all cartoonists or people that do what you will be doing have that influence. It's special.
Well said. Yeah, I agree absolutely. The background is never to be forgotten. Everybody got a particular background, and it's important to remind ourselves like, yeah, this will be special because I have lived through this and this person haven't, and his cartoon, his like art piece is going to also be special because he went through that. You know, like everybody's got their special touch, and it's important to remind myself of that, as is it for everybody else.
I wanted to get your opinion on the skiing world, what it brings as a flavor and what you bring in your artistry. Because you filmed a lot with Les Gamins, Vincent and Marco, who were doing ski movies in Quebec, and you've worked with on a couple projects.
Yeah, they were there for a bunch for Education of Style, Keynote Skier, Let It Flow, Be Inspired.
Yeah. Those guys have since branched out. Well, they've stayed in skiing, as you said, working with you, but they've branched out into doing music videos in Quebec, and they're killing it. And there's really a flavor that you can see that they were doing action sports things, and they do rap videos, they do a lot of other stuff, but you can see it in the filming, in the editing. There's something special that stands out. Did you notice that? Like,
I love their shit, and I don't know if you've seen their most recent series, but it's about two cops.
yeah.
Just that series is something really special, and as you were saying, you would have never gotten that type of series of anybody outside of these people that were editing and making the movie The Grinch and just like specialized ski movie things. And there's a certain like pace to the editing and a grittiness and something in the footage, like sometimes putting some 16 millimeter layovers, like, and something that normally is not even a thing in the Hollywood cinema. And when I saw their series, which the name slips right now.
The law is the law.
Why?
In French.
That's it.
La loi, c'est la loi.
Yeah. I watched all 5 episodes. I went through the week in one shot, like just like give me more. That shit is hilarious, and it's easy to watch. Yeah, major props to Marco and Vince.
Yeah, they have an energy and maybe an approach that maybe the classic film school doesn't teach you, or says, oh, you shouldn't do that. There's the whole structure thing.
Well
they don't care about norms, or maybe they do. Like I should talk to them, but yeah, it's crazy to see guys who made ski movies branch out into something like that and bring in the touch of the culture.
So much. Yeah, man. There's something special to be said about that. Is just like someone that's been self-taught and that hasn't had the academia background behind them. You're going to always get the similar result if you studied under the same school, but there's no way of getting that result if every day you try to make something out of nothing of your own and just go out and experience things that are not thought anywhere else than with putting yourself in that certain situation.
And now it's time for a second sponsor break. Axis Board Shop is a ski and snowboard shop based out of Saint-Sauveur, Quebec, Canada. They've been in business since 2002 and have supported skiing since day one. From sponsoring numerous athletes to putting on competitions to helping out movie productions, they've done it all. Axis is the core board shop and they've got everything that you might need this season. Check them out at axisboutique.com or go check out their shop in Saint-Sauveur. Support companies that support skiing. Support Axis Board Shop. How much of a workload was your project, The Lost Crystals?
It's still going on, and it's a lot of work. I thought I'm finishing my story in like May. I was telling the dude like, yeah, I'm gonna have a lock story by May, and I did have a lock story by May. And I was like, oh, dude, dope. I'm just gonna like hand this off, and this is gonna get done. Like, but really, like, every day I'm doing things for this cartoon and just tweaking a little thing, and also directing, like, because even though the vision's clear for me, and now the vision's clear for everybody, but in the team, which is a small team, we're 4 or 5 people, but it's like, even though it's clear for you in your mind and myself, I like see it vividly, then it's not easy for someone to like replicate something that in your mind. You have to be vocal about it and verbalize it in a way that's like comprehensive. But even though when you do that, maybe it's not going to be exactly what you saw. And what I've been good at, I feel like comparison to with the skiing world, is just like I let go. Like I tell something and that's how I see it. And the artist puts it out anyway. Like the illustrator is a killer. He's going to do something way cooler than my mind could even imagine. So I tell him something, he does it. It's not what I thought. I have to like understand that it may be much better than I thought. And then I give it a day and it is much nicer than I thought. So the workload is still happening and it's still going to go on like for a while, because now it's like you have to, stories writ, script is writ, then you have to have the illustrations drawn, characters drawn. Once that's done, you start making move. You make a move, you put voiceovers, then you put sound overs, then you put the music, and then you got your cartoon basically.
There's something I noticed that's I'm curious about is you've been hands-on for most of your projects, right? Even though you've had help from Brady and other filmers on various projects, is that you've always been hands-on on filming, directing, editing, doing almost everything or working on everything. How was it working on a project like that where, well, as you said, you've had to put trust into people, but that's a big change of saying like you're not gonna draw the character. Well, I don't know, maybe you could have, but yeah, of saying okay, I'm gonna be a bit less hands-on.
Yeah, absolutely, and it feels pretty damn good because it's all about surrounding yourself with the good people in that aspect. It's like, and I found these people like Jay Nadeau and Frank Booch are just like murderers at what they do. Like, so once I had the team and now like the trust is going, it's all love and it's easy to move forward. And I'm just there to like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't put that logo right there because I had other thoughts, and just like making sure that things, but I'm also just letting go things naturally, and also giving these dudes something fun to do while being paid, because often these dudes do work for people and are contracted and have very strict guidelines, and it burns out your creative expression. And I just want this to be a collaborative piece, and that's why like anytime they show up with something, I'm like booyah. And sometimes obviously I'm gonna say like maybe the vest on B-Dog needs to be a little bigger and his pants bigger, And that's for the best because I can't let things slide so easily. Like I gotta stay true to the style and make
Yeah.
sure. But now that everybody got what we're trying to do, it's like we got the wheels on the whip and we're just rolling.
Yeah, as you said, it's the challenge of communicating what you have in your head. Because when you're doing your own ski project, editing it, you don't have to communicate it to anyone else but yourself, and you know what you want. But then that's a big challenge of getting to have everyone on the same page. But from what I saw, you definitely managed to do that. You can see the artist's personality, but then you know it's related to you. Like there's the B-Dog flavor.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm beyond stoked. This is like Christmas gift I'm gifting myself because it's an expensive thing and whatnot. Like it's gonna go beyond what I have as a budget. Like I'm obviously the main like Monster sponsoring, Armada sponsoring, but shit's expensive as hell. Like these dudes are professional and I'm paying a shitload, and in the end like I'm gonna have to pay like quite a bunch of money, like a lot of $1,000 to make this happen. But it's like I might die, and I'm gonna be really happy if I did this idea that I had. So might as well use that money that I have when I'm still alive. You know, it's like, and it's also like drives. It's like, what drives you? Are you gonna like put that drive aside and say like, nah, be smart? Like, if you're really attracted to something, I'll be smart with it. But if you're really attracted to something, it's stronger than any like principle or moral. You have to do it. Like if you're attracted to that, are you just like attracted to painting? You should be painting all the time, no matter what your dad says about paying the bills. Like it's gonna fucking pay the bills at some point if you just do it.
Yeah.
And pray.
And as you said, you're a perfectionist. So if you have something in mind, then it's kind of you can't not do it. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I feel like it wasn't the money that was going to stop you. Like you never had a thought of, oh, am I going to stop because I'm over budget? It's like, because you're a business person, because you've been a pro skier for a while and that's what pays the bills. But you first and foremost been a passion dude. Like skiing is your passion and you've made a business out of it and not the contrary. Like the cartoon didn't start out as a plan to make money. It's something that you had in your heart and wanted to do. And then.
Yeah, which is why you're here right now with the microphones.
Yeah.
And you came down from Montreal and you went to see Alexis yesterday in Tremblant. And you're just doing it like for the love, basically, because you feel a need to do this, and which is why it's coming out genuine too. And
Thanks.
which is why people are interested, is because, and even beyond like the interest of people, is just self-fulfillment. You're like, yeah, like I'm doing something I love.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
What else?
Yeah. And what's your plan for the release? Do you have are your goals more to get people to see it, or are you thinking in terms of how can I make this rentable?
Yeah.
Meaning making money out of it.
Right. I'm going to make sure that it is as lucrative as possible. I'm going to capitalize on this shit. I'm not just going to let this shit go out and, didn't work out, didn't get that many views. Nah, people are going to see this, and people are going to see also like the designs. They're going to go on shirts. They're going to go on your cap. They're going to go on bucket hats. I'm going to have this shit all over the place because there's too much thoughts that went into this to just like let this shit slide. Like this is the beginning of something much bigger, like the 27s, which is like the group of Snow Samurai, which are like a group of artists that live in the hill and do basically what we do. Like there's filmers over there, there's DJs, there's painters, there's skiers, there's snowboarders. Like they're artists. That's what they do over there. And the 27th is going to be a brand on its own. Like
Dude, I'm hyped. Listening about it, I'm hyped.
Hell yeah, I
Like,
appreciate.
that's the thing. It's not why I think it's going to work. It's not that you've put in work. It's that what came out of it is sick. Like, there's worth in it. And plus, how you're saying that it can be declined into every aspect of our sport is incredible. Like, you've opened the gate into something that has potential.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for noticing, man. Really appreciate it. And I'm just full on into it and loving it.
That's great to hear. So, do you have a release date exactly, or it's when it'll be done? It'll be done.
Yeah, more so in that way because it's so unpredictable. I don't know how much time animation takes. I have no idea. I came into this like a full-on newbie, so I'm I want to release it for the winter. Like I mean, if it came out at, around Christmas, after Christmas, that would be ideal. So it's a story about snow. So I'm not gonna release this movie in summer. I'm gonna release it in the winter. So December, January, and February. January 2021 and February 2021, December 2020 are my goals.
That's coming in fast.
Yeah, it comes fast, and I started writing this thing in January, like 2020, like, and it's gonna be a year. But I obviously like next time, our next episode, if I get the financing for another short, I'm definitely gonna be much more efficient at it. But that I had to get the train going.
The learning curve.
Right.
Yeah. Is that something that stresses you, the release date? What's your mindset at the moment on when you're at?
Loving where I'm at, and there's something about releasing something that feels so satisfying, but there's also something that you miss so much, a nostalgic effect, and it's good. That's how life is, but the involvement, the joy about being involved in a project full on is so fulfilling that when it releases, there's sort of like that, what now? Like, I wasn't thinking about what was next. I was thinking what I was doing right now. So I feel like maybe I'm going to have like that moment, but then again, I'm going to be skiing at that point. So it's going to be pretty easy transition to be like, oh, what now? Yeah, I'm filming for a 2-year ski real person project.
Yeah, but I think what's cool with this project is that you won't have the what now. It's going to be a lot of options, and it'll branch off into other things, which is cool.
Yeah, I agree. That's how I see it as well. And it's just what stresses me is not the release date, because I'm not, but it's more so like the expectations about the next one, if there is so, and what is going to be the date, because now I'm going to have released something, and now it's going to be like, okay, oh, can you do another one and release it for February 2022? Then it's going to be more stressful, because I'm going to have like expectations to release something, and that one's going to have looked like that. But then again, like, I'm storing ideas, I have stuff on the side, and it never ends. Like, it's easy for me right now. If this works, who's coming in next? Idolo's coming in, the goblin character. Like,
wow,
it's gonna branch out, and then the lion's gonna come.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. The lion comes in.
Yeah, it's like it all branches, and there's all like these segues to create this universe. And like, Armada's supportive, and they've always, obviously with their graphic, working with Mad Steez, being a company that was born in Costa Mesa, California, like, they're not typical conservatives. They push forward.
And that's so crazy, because that has a like mainstream potential, let's say, but then also it stays true to the ski culture and has that own flavor. So I could see people learning about Tanner or Idolo or yourself by that. I think it has a lot of potential. I'm stoked to see it. Then you also have a new movie releasing this fall.
Right. Yep. Yeah. From these 5 clips that I had filming with Brady prior to the injury, which were decent clips, definitely not like I wasn't putting myself at risk like I was doing rail ski. I quit rail ski just to exactly do some fun urban tricks like setups that were, and one setup that you've seen that is in Belmar's 2020 cut, like that type of setup that's just like, damn, that might look fun to ski. And that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to have fun and ski things, not be up at the top and be like, I hope I don't get hurt on this one.
Yeah.
Funny thing, ironic, I did get hurt on these fun things, but that's just how life goes.
You never know.
Yeah.
But that's one thing that is cool also, because the setup you're talking about that you did with Belmar is less dangerous because you're on flat ground and like there's, in theory, there shouldn't be any consequences, but it's still a hard setup. Like you're still challenging yourself because you're basically jumping from a set of docks to another and then another and finally jumping onto a rail that's on docks.
Mm-hmm.
But you didn't build any jump.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing that I noticed was there's still those details of it looked like it was still hard to get on it. Like you still needed to pop the hell out of your skis.
So much. Yeah, exactly. Just tried to come in and put as least amount of work into the preparation of the setup and more work into like skiing. Just skiing it. Just skiing something. Don't have to build a 20-foot high jump to get to that top of the building, which I like as well, and it's awesome to do, but this time around, and also it depends on the quantity of snow, obviously.
That's something that varies a lot where we are.
Yeah, exactly.
You might get a Christmas with grass or with POW.
Yep.
But you still have
Never
to get
know.
shit done.
Exact.
So you filmed you got 4 or 5 shots around.
Mm-hmm.
How do you make a movie out of that?
I mean, it's called a movie nowadays, but normally it would be called an edit. You know, it's like a 3-minute, 33 seconds video, and it's like guest appearance. There's going to be Frank, maybe there's going to be Alki. I haven't seen like the full movie yet, full 3 minutes. So it's like a short, but it's also like, in this case, it's more like give Brady the opportunity to have fun and showcase like his professionalism with camera work, and how like he whipped to that and it whipped so well to that other place, and just like how he connected things. So I think this will, and like Nuance did, it will make Brady shine just as much or more than me in the video. And that's something I'm really happy about, is that I can be a platform and Brady's putting me on a pedestal, and so am I in return putting him on a pedestal, and just making something really short and concise that it's not going to be your the part of maybe not even the part of the week. It's going to be really mellow thing, but
not the typical ski porn.
Right. It's just going to be enjoyable if you're looking for nuance and just clips that, oh, nice segue, nice, easy on the eye. That felt good to my eye.
We're in a good era for that, because for 20 years there's been so much ski porn that it's nice to see some different stuff.
Absolutely. And we were watching earlier the Alki 2020 segment. Alki, for people that aren't familiar, is Alex Belmar. And now it's a different twist to footage of Alki, and some twist that you haven't seen necessarily anybody in, but especially not Alki. So it gives light, and just it's enjoyable to see that person in a different light than your typical, like, oh, a switch 4 onto a down rail. Yeah, I seen Alki do it. That one was dope, but I've seen him do it. Give me that extra, and you put that in, and that felt really good. And I think it's time to have that, and it feels really good to watch these pieces that have emotions involved and something more than, as we grow older, maybe like the ski porn. I love to watch still, but might be for a younger audience.
Yeah, well, I agree with you. I still like both, but maybe on my side, I think it was maybe in terms of proportion, everything was ski porn. So it's nice to have a balance, where it's cool to connect. Same thing with you is if we do the comparison with real ski is not about like the person, it's about the skier. Like it's a banger, 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 banger. And then when you put out your movie in the fall, then it showcases the personality behind the skier.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And yeah, it only depends on where you're at and what you're trying to get watching. But I definitely like have a much greater feeling of nostalgia looking back on En Particulier and Nuance than I have on looking at the real skis, which shows me the route I want to take for the future is definitely on uh, more nuanced pieces and just things that have more substance to it than just the ski. Like I'm trying to make people laugh. I'm trying to make people sad. I'm trying to make people happy with like these pieces, and also make people question like why why is that part in the movie? It's just it's cool to make these little skits and just I guess I'm branching off a bit more into with this whole cartoon thing too. Is more of a uh, artistic direction, just more storytelling than just like the look how fucking good my crew and I am at skiing.
I think you're influencing the content that is going on in skiing while you've done your whole career, but with those two movies, En Particulier and Nuance, of yeah, you can do the best tricks, but there's also a value of showing that the story behind it. And yeah, you're not the first one to do it. It's step toward doing it, but in that format, in the era of, as we were talking before the podcast, where there's so many crazy ski content on Instagram where it's not that special anymore because you can see it every day. But the work that goes into telling a real story is rare, is more rare than before, I find. So like Émile Bergeron, who won silver in real ski this year, he's also putting a movie like you did of showing the behind the scenes and everything. And he showed me a bit that I think it's still in work, but that's what I love because you still see the bangers, but you get to see the whole behind the scenes. It's not really the behind the scenes, but you get to see to kind of live the story along with them of what happened and all the work they put in, and it's nice to see.
Yeah, I love it as well. I love that format of video, and as you said before, I like both as well. But it's definitely a good time for this because once again, as you said, the balance. Now, there was so much of that ski porn content that it got dulled down. Like too much of something just makes it just like anything that has value. It has to have certain a rarity.
So, what are your plans for the coming months? You're working on finishing the Lost Crystals. Then I guess your knee is. How's your knee right now?
It's doing good. It's doing great, and I'm working out on just making it 111% so I can come in the season and be good. I'm gonna start it off pretty mellow, and right now I'm in the process of finishing the Lost Crystal and writing down some stuff about it. But also, I just started to write for a movie that I'm gonna produce over the course of 2 years of skiing, but that will integrate a bit more of funk, just like shout out to Step, like they did it in the past in a very serious way. They were very and dramatic, and which I love. But this time I want to do something more light and something a bit funny, and just I have some ideas that might just make this whole thing look less serious and make people probably like laugh about it. And that's what I want to do, kind of just because I take myself so seriously and I have to like knock myself down and show myself that this is all a game, like it's all fun. So I want to take these 2 years to make something that reflects something a bit more humoristic than the average thing that I've produced that is so hands-on, like whether it be like spiritual or just like trick or just serious, just something like that's light and that feels good. That's funny. Like that's a cool concept. Something that's like hasn't been seen before. I think I got my hands on something, but still needs to put some work in.
Question for you. Are you going to focus on urban only, or what's your stance on going more into the powder?
No, I would love to ski more powder for sure. And I think my body deserves powder a bit more than urban. So
He earned it.
yeah, I have Keegan Kilbride, who's going to come to Quebec for 2 weeks. He's filming his project and he wanted a part with me. So I'm honored and I'm going to focus on that for the urban. I'm going to do some urban with Frank Bourgeois, maybe Alki as well. And otherwise, I think there's a lot of spots around in La Mauricie where I live that are backcountry, they're not your West Coast backcountry booters, but there's places to build jumps and make East Coast look cool. And I think I'm going to try to focus around here and milk the cow around here, because a lot of people live here and are passionate about skiing, because and snowboarding, everybody has a winter and you have to cope with it. So might as well do something fun with it. And I just want to show people that you can do all these things. Like I've been showing it with urban, but I also want to go in the woods and show like, that's right there. That's behind your house. It's over there. Like you can go, no doubt. It's there for you. You just got to like use your mind.
The people want to see that. Like
yeah,
I was looking back to your refresh segment, and that's one thing that I was like, oh, I wish Phil would have done more of it. Well, still, you've done so many great things, but your backcountry booter shots were so sick. Like I think that's something you've got to. I want to see more of that.
Thank you. I want to do more of it, and definitely when I'm visualizing skiing these days, I'm definitely jumping into POW. So I'm definitely gonna take a trip left in my career, a few like Japan and British Columbia.
Yeah, go see Godbout and get some booters.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. I got to connect with Alexi.
Sick. So thanks for coming on. Thanks for having me at your home.
It's a pleasure, man. I appreciate you considering me for the podcast. And do you have a name for the podcast?
The Mayrand podcast.
That's it, man.
Yeah.
Easy.
I was like, am I going to think of a fancy name? Nah, keep it simple.
Yeah. Well done.
Thanks, man. So guess we'll talk again soon.
Yeah. Thank you, bro.
Peace. So there it is. First episode out of the way. I want to thank Phil for welcoming me at his place to do this episode and for his generosity in our discussion. I also want to thank Treefort Lifestyles and Access Board Shop for supporting the podcast. See you all next week for another episode. Peace.